recorded live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fight for Our Freedom Radio. And tonight we have Scott C1 from the NIBIRU channel with us, and I'm not sure if Steve is going to be joining us or not. I haven't received confirmation. I hope he does call in, though. And we are going to be talking about the latest updates with what's happening to our planet, and also we're going to be taking calls. So before we get started, let's start out with my opening bumper song. Okay, I'm not seeing Scott in the window yet. I'm wondering if he's having a problem getting logged in. Had that happen before, but I will unmute you guys as fast as I can here. And if I don't get to you, just hang in there for a minute. If I have to, I'll have to go and call Scott and find out what the heck's going on. So hold on, let me go over and check on Facebook. And for those that want to ask questions tonight, you're going to have to call in 1-724-444-7444 and enter the code 43503. And when you get on the phone, you're going to have to push *8 to raise your hand. And you will be muted until we get to your number. I don't see him. He's not on Facebook, so maybe he's, sometimes we do get blocked from logging in here. So anyways, we're going to talk a little bit tonight about the radiation level and how high it has been. I was looking at some of the data on the computer, and I don't know if you guys are experiencing this or not, but a lot of people are complaining about headaches and joint pain. And Scott did a video about this, talking about how the radiation levels are so high that it's affecting everybody's health. So I still don't see him in the room yet. I don't know what's going on. Well, let's give him a couple minutes. Maybe he always calls in through the computer, and he might be being blocked. Hello, guest 26. I did get confirmation from him because he said he said he was going to put up a video inviting everyone to the call. Yeah, and what I'm hearing is that a lot of people are having joint pain and they're having headaches, and I'm also hearing about in the warmer states that people are that they're getting sunburned really fast. So it's really amping up with the radiation, I think, and one of the things that I recommend is if you're being affected by the radiation, get yourself a salt lamp. Salt lamps will help with cutting down on the radiation. And there was another guy, Scott sent me to his site, that was talking about putting Marley blankets on your windows. Well, there is trying to think of the site I got them at, but there are Marley blankets. They're called solar curtains, and they're the same thing as Marley blankets. In fact, I purchased them, and they're like $7 for 2 of them, and they have the top of it has where you can put it right through the curtain rod. So you might want to look that up. Just look up solar curtains and hang those on your windows. See if that helps out. I have them on mine. I've had them on mine for a couple years now, and it seems like after a year or so, the coating starts to get holes in it and that, so they do have to be replaced. But I'll tell you, they are very, very effective. And another thing I want to talk about, we're waiting for Scott to join us, or those that just came in. Another thing I want to talk about is the people that are having headaches. You can purchase some essential oils, and if you don't have a fuser, just put a little bit in a bowl of warm water and use a wash rag and dip it in the warm water and put that on your head, and that will help. I think the best thing for headaches is lilac essential oil. You can also use peppermint, but look it up. Look up essential oils and migraine headaches, and frankincense is a good one too. And you can also massage those on your feet. If you look up essential oils and massaging them on your feet for your health, go into YouTube, Dr. Axe. He does a really good one, and yes, Scott has just joined us. Hi, Cutie Patootie. Did you have a hard time joining us?
Yeah, actually, whenever I was dialing the number to call in, it kept connecting me to a locksmith.
Well, let me tell you, when I first started being harassed about doing my shows, I couldn't even get in the window. There were times that my guest was waiting in my window for 20 minutes for me to come in and start the show. So you're being redirected is what's going on. And I would keep getting directed to some little old lady or some little old man's house, and he'd say, "Would you quit calling me?"
Well, that's what this locksmith just kept saying. He's I forget the name of it. Leichman Locks. It's like a locksmith guy. Phone rings directly to his house.
Yeah. What they want you to do is they want you to get frustrated and give up. But for those that are coming in the window, if you have a problem calling in and you're being redirected, just be persistent. Sometimes you got to hang up for about 5 minutes and then try it again, but you will get through eventually. It's just somebody trying to block you.
Yeah, how does my my microphone sound to you? We don't have any feedback?
No, I haven't got no feedback yet. So, Scott, what in the world is going on with these earthquakes and the radiation level? We were just kind of talking a little bit. I was talking to the guests a little bit about how everybody's being affected by this radiation with headaches and joint pain. So what the heck's going on here?
Well, let me just tell you what happened to me the day after Christmas. The day after Christmas, we had the temperatures soar from 17 degrees in the morning to 67 degrees by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And, I live in southwestern Pennsylvania, 20 miles south of the city of Pittsburgh. So, in the end of December, we usually have an average temperature of about, anywhere from, I'd say, 30 degrees to about maybe 35 degrees. The lows will dip down into the high teens, low 20s. Usually we don't have snow on the ground, But the temperatures here have been very, very erratic, is the word to say. Very erratic and psychedelic, to use another word, because it has been just that. The skies have been these burning pink sunrises, and I have hundreds of pictures that I've taken. And I've never seen sunrises in this time of the year where I live. Now, you know, when I lived in South Florida, it was different. You know, you could see those beautiful sunrises every morning. Then the sunsets. The sunsets are literally the whole entire sky from east to west, north to south, is this burnt, deep orange color. And again, I have hundreds of pictures that I have been taking since a few days before Christmas. And just, I mean, I woke up one morning and I walked outside. The sun had just come up, but it was very, very thick, overcast skies. I mean, it looked like, you know, you weren't going to see the sun for days. But all of these, the thick cloud cover had a very bright pink hue to it. And I took some photographs of that also. And it's just amazing me. So I talked about it on one of my videos the day before Christmas. And I got all of these photographs in from all over the world, people experiencing the same thing. So the day after Christmas, after, you know, we had some real warm weather, 40s, 50s. It was 67 degrees, sun shining. It was like a spring day, people running around in shorts. And about mid-afternoon, I was outside for a while. I had some errands to run. And I got back around 3 o'clock. I sat down, and about an hour later, every single bone in my body started to ache at the joints. My lower back, my elbows, my knees, everything. And then the muscle ache set in. It was like I was in some type of a wrestling match, or I played tackle football without pads, you know, or I had the flu. And then my skin started feeling like it was on fire. And then the last symptom I got was all of my internal organs, my stomach, my lungs, everything felt like it was burning inside, and it literally put me down, and I mean down on my sofa from 5 o'clock in the afternoon the day after Christmas. I didn't get back up off of the sofa until the morning of the 29th. I was literally crippled to hell.
Well, it sounds like you were being microwaved.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Something, you know, either that or, I mean, I had a lot of subscribers sending me emails in the days around the same time, and a lot of them were telling me the same thing. They were all thinking that it was this flu symptom, but you recover from it within 48 hours. So I don't know anybody that's had the flu, the stomach flu or whatever, for 48 hours. I didn't have any symptoms of the flu other than, you know, those very serious aches and pains. You know, I'm 48 years old, but I'm in pretty good shape. I don't have any medical problems. I take no medications. I'm perfectly sound. But for something like that to put me down for that amount of time, and for me to sleep, now I know I needed to rest, but for me to sleep, you know, almost 30 hours straight, it was like I was in a coma. So when I was listening to the subscribers in their emails, I mean, I had a couple of hundred of them that said the same thing. And they weren't just from the United States either. They were from many other countries.
Yeah, but, you know, Scott, they've got the Tetra Towers, and they're using them on the whole population now, which, you know, I've done many shows about the Tetra Towers where they're planning on turning those on and microwaving the whole population and making us all just lay right down. And, you know, from being a target and being microwaved, that's what you're describing to me, is that you're being microwaved. And due to the fact of what you're talking about and what they've tried to do to you, they probably are microwaving you. You know, what I would do if I was you is whatever houses are around you, watch to see if they never leave the house, and also if they keep all of their porch lights on and their garage lights. That means they're on duty. That's probably where. And if you also see somebody cutting down all the trees and the foliage in line with your place, that's where it's coming from.
Well, I remember you telling me that the last time, and where I live, nobody lives around me.
Doesn't matter. They have a screen, Scott. I've seen it. They moved it when they were using it on me, and it was they moved it at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just happened to be outside. It was a full moon that night, and I was filling my dog's water pans, and I saw them coming up the road in a pickup truck with a car in front of it and a car behind it, and they had their four-way flashes on, and I was like, what the heck are they doing? And when they got to my driveway, they slowed up and looked in my yard to see if I was out there. Well, I stepped behind the tree, and when they went past me, this thing that was on this truck looked like a giant iPad, and it was hanging off the back of this truck about 6 feet, and it was probably about 8 feet wide. And so I called Independence, and I asked them, I said, what in the heck was that? He said, that's a military high-power microwave screen, and they can microwave you from 3 football fields away with that thing.
My God. Well, what I meant to say is where I live, as far as seeing anybody's porch lights on, there's nobody that lives around me. I live on a high crested hill, and it's kind of like a horseshoe shape. I have a very long driveway, which you have to come up way up off the main road, and I could literally see 360 degrees all the way around, and I am covered by thick, very, very high trees.
It will go through. It will go through the.
Well, yeah, I know. I understand that. I'm just saying, the whole looking at my neighbor's porch light. I don't have any neighbors where I live.
Even when you're coming to your place, what you'll notice is that you'll notice the house that's involved is always got their light on all day long. That's the person who's on duty, who's paid to watch you.
Well,
so
sure they
are. Someone who's always got their garage or porch light on 24/7, then there's your perpetrator, and that probably might be where it's coming from. Now, I can tell you other things that we don't want to talk about targeting right now. We want to talk about, but I do believe that, some of the stuff that people are saying they're experiencing with their health, I've been hearing a lot of migraine. I do believe that, a lot of this is the radiation that's coming from our solar system, too.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I started looking into that after I read those emails because my skin was very sensitive to the touch, where to the point where it was hard for me to wear a thin T-shirt. And I went to leave the house, and I just threw a baseball cap on. And when I put the baseball cap on, I noticed that the skin on my head, my skull, was sensitive. But it all went away, and the next day, when I woke up on the 29th, I felt like freaking Superman. It was probably the best that I've felt in a very long time. My brain was literally on fire with intelligence. My mind was bright, wide open. It was like it was firing on all circuits. Mm-hmm. So I reached out to a friend of mine that I get some information from time to time, and he's worked in military intelligence for over 24 years. He's retired, and I was telling him about this, and he mentioned to me that some of these things that are coming into our solar system, they're completely unknown to mankind today, modern man, because we've never gone through this before. But he has heard through his work background with the military that some of these things, these cosmic things that you can get exposed to, they can do different things to different people. It all depends just on you. He said that what I experienced sounds exactly like what he studied back in the mid-90s. And I asked him, I said, well, what are you specifically talking about? And he said, well, the way that you were feeling, and then whenever you recovered from that, the way that you just described, that your your mind was, you know, on a complete like overload. I felt like Einstein. My mood, I'm always in a good mood, but I just felt fantastic. And he said, well, there's a couple things that can happen. He said, you know, some people can literally go into a complete mental shutdown, and others will experience what you experienced in the end. This massive euphoric brain fire, like your brain is firing on all circuits. And I said, okay, well, I hope that lasts. And he said, it won't. He said, you know, a lot of people will probably feel the same that you felt. And like I said, as I started to open up those emails and I started reading them, people were having issues from breathing problems, from very severe headaches, skin irritations that didn't show up as a rash, flu-like symptoms, but, you know, people recovered within a 48 to 72-hour period. As I look back into some of the data, it coincided with one of the waves of energy, the solar winds that were coming from the sun. And the earth literally passed through one of these waves. Because when you're looking at it on this one computer model, it's like a pinwheel, the sun in the middle, and these pinwheel of waves circulating. And as the earth rotates around the sun, these waves, like a spoke on a rim, a bicycle rim, it catches up to the earth, and then it passes by the earth, but the earth passes through it, literally. I wish I had a visual screen to show you. If there's any of my subscribers listening, you know, they've seen this. I go over it just about every day or every other day. So, you know, we've had a lot of things that have occurred over the last 2 weeks.
I seen one of your videos where you said that you had a friend that had a Geiger counter and you asked him to go outside, take a reading, and he said it was off the charts. What do you mean by off the charts? You mean harmful?
Well, he works, I can't talk about the industry that he works in, but he has a personal radiation detector on his uniform. And I just happened to give him a call, and, you know, he was on Christmas vacation, and I was bugging him. I said, listen, do me a favor, please. Go out in your truck and, you know, grab that, and can you know, tell me what it says? Well, he only lives about 50 miles from me. So he turned it on, and as soon as he turned it on and it calibrated itself, it started going off real loud with that beep, 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 beep. And he said, what the hell? And he looked at it, and I said, well, what is that? He says, well, that's the damn radiation detector. And I said, well, what is it saying? And he goes, well, it's hard for me to explain to you because I've been taught how to read this, but he said the levels are very high. He goes, what the hell's going on? You know, and then we ended up having a 2-hour conversation about what's happening. So now he's walking around. He's still on vacation till after the first of the year, but now he's walking around with, you know, that radiation detector. Now, I do monitor a global website that gives radiation readings over the entire globe. And what I noticed over a 72-hour period, when that solar wind came barreling through and we passed through that wave, and it was just about the day before Christmas, the 24th, 25th, and the 26th. I went back and I looked at the data on that site. As the sun, as the Earth rotated from, you know, daylight side, nighttime side, when you looked at the daytime side of the Earth, where people were exposed to the sun, the radiation levels were all out of a level 5 being the worst. The entire sunlit side of the Earth was at a level 3, all over the place, and it puts little pin dots all over the place. Now, not every single area was at a level 3. Some were at a basic level 1 or 2, but where I lived, right smack dab, pinpointed right on top of me, was a level 3. Now, as the Earth rotated into daylight on the other side of the globe, the radiation readings went from normal to a level 3. So basically, we were being rotated into this. I just called it a poison because that's basically what it was. You know, and I'm not a, you know, I don't have access to this scientific data that NASA and world space agencies have, because I know damn well they've been monitoring this. They have to. So we don't even really know what we're being exposed to. There's a lot of different theories out there. There was a lot of disinformation put out there, because I'll be quite frank with you, the first bit of information that came out was this magnetar that exploded. Well, we found out 24 hours later that, you know, that was just complete crap. Then we found out that the stories that were popping up about a gamma ray hitting the Earth or coming at Earth. Well, first of all, you would not see a gamma ray burst hitting the Earth. You know, one like, they're talking about something like in the movies, because it would completely obliterate the Earth where it hit, and then that gamma ray burst would literally spread around the globe and people would die off very slowly. So that was a complete farce. As I dug into it further and further, I started finding out that, you know, they're putting this disinformation out there because they don't know what the hell to do. So, you know, I contacted my friend again that was in the military, and I said, listen, man, I need your help. I need to know what the hell is going on. And he goes, well, look, I'm going to be quite frank with you. They've been puzzled by this for the last 9 months. He said they don't know what to do. They knew this was going to occur, but he said they're being very tight-lipped about what's going on.
Well, I'm sure that they're very upset, too, because there's so much out there on the internet now, and so many people are finding out what's going on, and they want answers, and, you know, so they're just going to try to debunk it. But we are getting up on our half an hour of chit-chat, and for those that are on the phone that wish to speak to Scott, please push *8, which raises your hand, and we'll unmute you in sequence. We do have one caller that has their hand raised, so we'll take that call now. Welcome to the show, Arizona. You have a question for Scott?
Yes. Hi, Scott. So this is a solar flare that is causing this? That's what I heard.
No, it's not a solar flare. I mean, if the Earth actually got hit with a solar flare, it would be pretty much doomsday for the Earth. What's been happening over the past several weeks, and I monitor this every single day, is it seems to me that we're having a combination of problems. And one of the main problems is all of these large coronal holes opening up on the sun, and it just so happens at the position the Earth is and the position of the coronal holes, because, you know, the sun does rotate itself.
Yeah.
And as the sun's rotating and the Earth is rotating around the sun, we are literally being turned into these large coronal holes. And these coronal holes, they produce these massive bursts of solar wind, and we were monitoring that also. And these solar winds were coming out at about, I think it was about 740 kilometers per second. And, you know, they rush towards Earth. And again, we monitor all of this. And they did slow down to about 600,000 kilometers per second. But those coronal holes also create a lot of pressure on the Earth, and they create massive earthquakes. And, I mean, I monitor these earthquakes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The earthquake activity has picked up tremendously, especially in the state of California. We've had earthquakes hitting in Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, Washington, all over California. Now, they're not heavy-duty earthquakes. They're in the magnitude of the high 2s, low 3s, some 4s. But the problem is they're spreading out across the entire state from north to south, south to north. And, you know, the whole aspect of, you know, these solar flares, now we went by that one. We got away with, you know, some pretty hefty earthquakes across the globe. But then I noticed another coronal hole opening up on the side of the sun that was rotating towards us. And I think everybody kind of discounted it. I talked about it in 2 of my videos. And sure enough, when I woke up the next day, and started looking at the 48-hour footage of the sun, well, there she was. She was getting bigger, shaped like a large triangle, and literally turning directly towards the Earth. Now, that one's going to be turning towards us. I think we will be aligned with it probably within the next couple of days. But when I monitored that, I was hoping that it would shrink and get smaller. Well, it did not. It got larger. So not only do we have that one to face again, but now there is another one forming on the sun, which will be turning towards us within, I would say, probably the next 7 days.
Do you think these coronal holes have something to do with the planet NIBIRU?
Well, I think something is definitely applying some very, very severe stresses on the sun. Now, you know, and I tell everybody this, without having, you know, like the bat phone directly into NASA where I can call and ask them questions, we're not going to get these answers because they're not coming out and telling anybody anything. Now, what bothers me is a few months ago, the President of the United States had this big to-do about signing this executive order in for this new Space Office administration. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, now that we have this big to-do Space Weather Office administration in Washington, D.C., why in the hell are they not saying anything to anyone?
Right.
Because these are serious events, because these coronal holes are documented with very, very heavy amounts of data that they do cause very tragic earthquakes. We're talking catastrophic earthquakes. And
wow.
why aren't they saying anything? You have the administrative office. Well, let's use it. Let's use it to warn people, hey, listen, you know, if you live in an earthquake zone, you know, pay very close attention for the next 7 days. Well, their Space Weather Office seems to be that they're on vacation and sucking up the tax dollars.
Right. Well, you know, I've been feeling pressure. I live in Arizona, in Tucson, and I have been feeling, and I thought it was barometric pressure because my joints have been hurting. I have arthritis anyway, but they've been hurting very severely the last few days. I've had problems with my internal organs. And then it's really funny that you should mention the 29th as far as having mental clarity.
It was good.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me, and for the last 3 days, I've just been bubbling with ideas, and
Me too.
I've had all this energy, and it's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, I hope my mind stays like this. I mean, I've always had a very energetic mind, but I don't know. I explained it to one of my friends like being on some type of psychedelic drug, you know, that just opened up my mind, and I hope it stays like that. But, you know, we could only wonder what we are being showered with, because I got another theory from a gentleman who is, again, I turn to when I need some very, very scientific information. And we started talking about the Milky Way, and where is Earth's position in the Milky Way? And if you go back all those years and you think about, you know, your Earth space science class, and maybe they talked about the Milky Way and where the Earth is positioned in the Milky Way, do you ever travel on that little spire, that little spoke that you're on in the Milky Way galaxy? As the galaxy rotates, and there's all these other galaxies, or all these other solar systems in the galaxy. So do you just stay in one spot, or do you travel down the road, literally, towards the middle of the Milky Way galaxy? So therefore, if you're traveling down the road, then your scenery is going to change, and you're going to experience new things as you travel down that one little spoke that your little solar system sits on. And when I asked him that question, he said to me, he goes, wow. He goes, where did this come from? And I says, well, I don't know. I was just sitting on my sofa reading some information, and all of a sudden that popped into my mind. And I couldn't find anything on the internet about it. And he says, well, to be honest with you, there have been some serious scientific studies over the past 20 years, and what I am talking about has happened. The position of where our little solar system is, yes, the Earth is traveling, in a direction. Our solar system is traveling in a direction through the Milky Way. Everything is always in constant motion. So yes, our solar system is going to experience new things as time goes on. And this takes probably tens of millions of years, but it just so happens that all of these things are occurring now. And as far as what's going on in the cosmos around and within our solar system, researchers that have researched Planet X and NIBIRU have all mentioned these things occurring on the exodus, the approach and exodus of this small little solar system leaving our solar system.
Yeah.
And then, I started doing a bunch of more research on brown dwarf stars and, what they're all about. And I just jumped into a bunch of really, really scientific information that would boggle your mind, because science really doesn't have a real big hold on the knowledge of these brown dwarfs. Now, over the past 10 years, there's been a lot of data that has come in because of technology, but these brown dwarf stars come in classifications now, and these are very powerful planetary objects. They have a ton of power, and I mean electromagnetic power. It just goes on and on and on, and they are way more powerful than the Earth, and they seem to link up with a star like our sun. So again, without without having a scientist at NASA to question and truthfully give me answers, we could just sit and just have these theories and reaching out to all of the people that I talk to on a daily basis and collaborate with. Each one of us is going in a different direction, like a slice of pizza, and we're all trying to put it together. And as I spoke with one good friend, it's a Planet X researcher, he said, listen, he goes, it's my theory that we're in the beginning stages of seriously feeling the effects of, NIBIRU and this brown dwarf. And I said, well, we did talk about leading into the end of this year. And I've been saying that since the end of the summer in August. And, people like these debunkers are calling me. They're saying, ho, Scott, it's the end of December and the world is still here. Well, I never said the world was going to end. I never said that, not one time. This will not destroy Earth, but it's going to change mankind as you know it today. And it will begin in December. Well, here we are in December, and we have all kinds of cosmic clusters coming at us. And I feel that, things that are happening are being disguised as, they're throwing this scientific mumbo-jumbo at us that the common man's not going to understand. In your local weather forecast, they don't go over space weather, so how are you supposed to know what's happening in the solar system? You're not going to find your weatherman telling you. You have to seek other information, like my channel, and BP Earthwatch does a great job, and Suspicious Observers does a great job on the solar and space weather, and there is a website called spaceweather.com. So I think go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's interesting because even the mainstream radio is talking about NIBIRU now. Very briefly, they brought up I was going to visit my father in the Veterans Hospital, and I was with my brother, and he drove me over there, and we were listening to NPR, public radio, And they brought up the fact that there is a new planet that they have discovered. And they were only on for a minute talking about it, but they mentioned it. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, and you know, I also seen on my regular news, local news, they were showing the sky cam in the morning, you know, and then they picked it up. They picked up one of the planets and they went, "What is that? Gee, I don't know." You know?
Yeah.
So yeah. There are some things that are coming out.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Of course,
it's going to
we got
be.
our usual trolls in the window tonight, and I apologize, you guys, because I'm busy watching who's coming into the window and unmuting people. I can see they're aggravating you, and if they keep it up, I'll start paying attention over there, and I'll just mute them.
Yeah, you know, the best thing you can do is, you know, if you are having some of these issues and you subscribe to my channel, you know, set the notifications up to my channel. That way, when I do put a new video up, you are notified. You know, YouTube's been playing around with that notification setting to a bunch of YouTube channels, and I try to cover this at least every single day now. It's not that I've changed my format from researching Planet X. It's just that these things that are occurring right now, you know, I feel that I have the responsibility to inform my subscribers on what's happening. And some of these things can create health issues, as you saw what you went through, what I went through, and probably millions and millions and millions of other people just don't realize what has happened to them. Some of these things can get so potentially critical that they could literally just crack and break the strands of your DNA if you're a child or a very young person. They could have very serious effects on your body as a child and a young person. I'm talking like a child, a teenager. You know, because your body's still growing.
Or maybe even an old person, somebody who's weaker.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be some things that are going to occur, you know, with being, you know, older. But the most critical will be for children and people that are very, very young. That is the scientific data that I got on that, and that kind of scared me. You know, I can't even say stay inside, because these particles, these protons, you know, whatever they want to call them, they literally pass through everything. Unless you're living in a lead house, you're going to be exposed to it no matter where you go.
Right.
And they penetrate
My
deep
mother
into
was
the earth.
very sick. My mother was very sick recently too. She's 83.
Oh my.
Yeah. She's just now recovering.
Well,
yeah, I think.
Well, don't you think, Scott, that it'll affect the children and the elderly first?
The data that I got that it would affect on long term, it would affect children in the way that I said. You know, children and very, very young people. I'm not talking about adults, like young adults. I'm talking about children that are still growing. That's the data and the information that I got. You know, because their bodies are still growing and manifesting, and these breaks. It literally breaks in the DNA strands, and you could look it up. I'm not making this up. This is just a fact. So I don't think that any of us are going to hide from what's occurring, and I honestly think that we're going to be in this ballpark for a long time. It's going to be a long time.
I have one more question. More question, because this has been really on my mind a lot lately. I have noticed a star, what looks like it's a planet, but it's over on the west side, on southwest of Tucson, okay? And it's getting brighter and brighter and brighter. Every night that I come out and see it, it is getting, I mean, it almost looks like an airplane now, a bright airplane.
Yeah, we've been looking at one object back in September, October, and November in the southwest region of the sky. What a lot of people are seeing right now is they are seeing Venus, and Venus will pop up at about, I'd say 4:45, 5 p.m. You'll start to see Venus in the sky, very, very bright. Looks like a neon headlight, just coming in at you. It's kind of it's kind of off because right now Venus should only be at, I think, about a 60 to 66% luminosity, meaning like when the Earth is at a crescent moon. So we're only seeing a 60% of the moon. The other third is eclipsed. And that's how Venus should be right now. We should only be seeing about 60% of that planet. But something is heating up Venus to the point where it looks like a big halogen headlight in the sky.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been looking at it because I have a perfect southwest view of it. I put my telescope on it all the time to just take a look at it. You know, I'm not going to see anything amazing, but this big bright planet, you know, in the sky. But that's what it is. If you're looking in that direction and you're seeing that object in the sky at about 5 p.m. And then through the beginning stages of the evening, that's definitely what it is. And it's going to be getting a little bit brighter and a little bit closer.
Okay, so it's Venus then. I was thinking it was Jupiter because I think it's, you know, NIBIRU is going to affect all the planets, not just ours.
It already is. I mean, there's scientific data that's been coming out that something is heating up all of the inner solar system planets. And again, without that direct line into NASA to ask these questions and to be given an honest answer, you know, we're never gonna know. But you know, we have to use our brains and what we know and what we can find out. And these inner planets are heating up, and it seems to be that something is also heating up the internal core of the Earth. It has been for a few years, you know, and the hypothesis of this small solar system being within our solar system has been going on for several years, well, a good many years. You know, this is not something that's just going to come whipping into our solar system, make a loop around the sun, and fly back out in a week. You know, the solar system is very large. You know, it's hard to put your mind on it because of the vastness of what we're talking about. But I believe with everything that I've studied and people that I've spoken to that are very knowledgeable about biblical scriptures and the past, we're in the times. We're in it right now. You know, I think that we're in the beginning stages, but we're far in the beginning. You know what I mean? We're getting there towards the middle. And as the months go on, January and February, over the next 60 to 90 days, things are going to change. And I think over the next 90 days, a lot of people that don't know anything are going to start wondering. And the people that do know some things are going to start asking more questions. And if their eyes aren't all the way open, they're going to be wide open. But again, you know, we're at a point right now where I feel like the entire Earth, the population on this planet, is literally being held hostage. And there's nothing that we could do except wait. And that's the saddest part. That's the saddest part. You know, I mean, I don't think that we have the technology to do anything about what's happening.
Well, what we can do is to get our spiritual house in order.
That is true.
And I think that is the main thing people should be concentrating on, you know, because what is going to happen is going to happen. I mean, I've heard that they're trying to get these space interplanetary like jets to go toward this object that is going to affect us and make it explode. They have some kind of a super explosive beam or something. They're going to get several of them, and they're going to vaporize this thing.
I don't think that's going to happen.
The chances of that happening are pretty slim. So, you know, I really feel like I have been really nudged a lot by the Spirit to pray, to pray without ceasing, and just to pray for the children mostly, because, these children are innocent. They come into this world. They can't help coming into this world, and they're so vulnerable. As you said, to these protons and everything else, the powers of be in the world. So I'm just very, very much led to speak out on these shows too about the importance of getting your spiritual house in order, and my belief is in the Lord Jesus Christ, and I will be unshaken in my belief in this because I've had an experience which has completely convinced me that He is the way, the truth, and the life.
Okay, well, Arizona, we are going to have to move on because we have other people that are waiting.
I understand. Thank you so much for letting me talk.
You're welcome.
Okay.
You have a great New Year's.
Thank you. You too, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bad Baby.
You're welcome, sweetie. Okay, for those that are on the phone, if you wish to speak to Scott, please push *8 and raise your hand, and we will get you unmuted. Scott, I wanted to ask you, have you been noticing an increase in the animal die-offs?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was doing some research on that a few weeks ago, and what I've come to find is, there are millions and millions of, just talking about aquatic life, there are millions of underwater volcanoes, literally millions all over the earth. And what I found out is that as the earth is heating up internally, there are large deposits of methane gases and poisonous gases that are literally being released into sections of the ocean. And what will happen is, aquatic life is very sensitive. We're talking about instantaneous death of a fish, a group of fish. That's why you see these massive die-offs of all of these fish, washing up on shores. Now, they mention it on the news, but then they don't cover the rest of the story. They don't update it with what happened. And this can also occur with, land animals also that come across, like out near Yellowstone. They can come across, a poisonous gas being dispersed anywhere. I mean, it could definitely happen. And that's one of the main leading causes of these mass deaths of animals. A few years ago, all those birds were falling out of the sky, hundreds of them all over the world. Okay, you heard about it on the news, but then you never heard about what caused it. And what causes it, are different types of, these gases, in the air, in the atmosphere, and these flocks of birds fly through it, and it just kills them instantly.
Have you ever gone back and I did this a while back when I was researching the New Madrid fault line. I went back into the newspapers and the archives of what exactly happened just before the earthquake happened back in the 1800s. And there weren't a lot of people that died then because the population wasn't the way it is now. But I found it very interesting that the local newspapers said that there were a lot of birds that were dying from the methane gas that was being released, and they were hearing loud booms before the New Madrid popped off. So, this is, I think, the tectonic plates that are making all these screeching horn sounds that everybody's videotaping and putting up on YouTube. What do you think?
Oh yeah, those are creepy. I've seen those videos, and I've never heard it myself with my own ears, but those sounds are very, very creepy, very eerie. I don't know what I would do if I ever heard a sound like that bellowing through through thin air. It's that's very puzzling.
They just had this happen over here in Michigan not too long ago. Someone put it up on YouTube. It was down there by Dearborn somewhere, and it was pretty eerie sounding. But I remember last year they had a boom go off off in southwest Michigan that people were calling 911, and they actually called the Air Force Base to see if there was a jet that maybe had a sonic boom. But it was so loud on the news, they were talking to people in the area, and this one lady actually had her trees bust in half in her front yard.
Well, there was a situation out at Newark Airport in New Jersey about 6 months ago. In the middle of the night, regular runway airport workers all of a sudden out of nowhere started to hear these loud humming sounds, and several of the workers that work in baggage and like on the runway, they were videotaping the sound, so they could catch it on video, and they were literally about to shut down the tower, and no more flights leaving or coming in until they figured out what was going on, because they thought, well, look, is there some type of military operation going on? Planes in the air that we're not seeing on radar, blah, 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 because they usually communicate very closely with these towers.
Mm-hmm.
When I watched that video, again, you're out there on a runway in the middle of the night, total darkness, all of a sudden you start hearing these god-awful sounds coming out of thin air, loud, very loud.
Okay,
they're being heard in Europe, everywhere.
For those that are on the phone, if you wish to ask Scott a question or speak with him, please push *8, and we have another caller. So we were on mute. Welcome to the show, Huggy Bear. You want to ask Scott a question?
I do. Scott, my name is Chris, and I emailed you recently a few times. I don't know if you know who I am. I'm the one that sends you pictures now and then. First, I want to thank you for going out of your way to go public with this. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome.
This is more than just being an American. It's being a humanitarian, in my opinion, especially when we're all up against so many. I see all these trolls, these paid shills in here, and that just tells me how much, that the more credibility and the more people and attention you're gaining, the more they're going to do this. And Bad Baby's known for getting a lot of them, but she hits the topics. Thanks, Bad Baby, as well. I knew. Oh, you're welcome. I was filming. I was a chemtrail filmer and blasting it everywhere on the internet. 2011, 12 by 13. I seen 4 or 5 objects in the sky, and by then I knew they were hiding the sun, and I knew that wasn't our sun. It was just too big, and the activity going on, and I knew the chemtrails was depopulation as well as solar management and numerous other things. I got online, and I was in shock. I wanted to know what was going on, and I had a gut feeling, that we were at the last days, and I found first one I found was Patty Broussard, and she did numerous interviews. One of them was here with Bad Baby, several of them, and I learned a lot from her. And then it was others, and thank you. You're one of them, Scott. Scott and WSO, and there's others as well, so I can't thank all of you. But anyway, my question, I guess, is, what can you say? I know where all this is going. I know the history of this, what little we've been given. It's been called many things, the destroyer, the frightener, the passing of the planets. My biggest confusion is, if you go by the Sumerians, it's every 3,600 plus years, give or take. But then there are scientists that are saying this is every million or so years. There's a DOD high-level whistleblower over at SoundCloud, Michael from around the world. If you need his link, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I know, Mike.
Yeah, and I have some voiceovers I did of him about a year and a half ago where he describes that this is every 40 to 70, 80,000 years, and it is the perturber, meaning that it perturbs all the other planets are in a mess. This messes up the entire universe, and along with this system came Hercules, the big red gas object. And this all led to me meeting Sam Huffman, who was silenced by the government for over 30 years. He was actually underground, and I forget the reason what happened, but they stripped him of everything. I mean, he was smarter than Einstein. Yeah. And I can see those planets up there thanks to him. I can look up any day now, and there they are, and they are getting much bigger. My question, I guess, and I know I don't expect you to be able to answer it. I respect anything you say, but I'm on the East Coast, and I'm ready to make a move, but I honestly can't figure out with the debris field coming, where are we safe? Any idea?
Well, I've been thinking about that over the past couple of weeks. and I'm on the East Coast also. And
we're in trouble.
I'm going to be quite honest with you. You know, I mean, if you just look at the basics, you know, the Earth rotates every day. The sun rotates every day. We move around the sun. We're in this big circle. So if you take things that are in a circle, and say, for instance, you take a spray bottle and you spin that ball and you spray it. As the ball spins and you continue to spray, what eventually happens? You're going to cover the entire ball. So I don't think that there is going to be any type of a actual, quote, safe zone. And I don't think running underground is going to do any good. Me personally, I would not want to be caught underground because of the earthquake situation, because that's going to be your tomb. You're not going to be able to escape. If you do have food and water in there, it's not going to be for eternity.
True.
So the bottom line is, like, I've been building myself up to the point, okay, you know, I'm ready to step up to the plate. I'm ready to face this, and whatever happens, happens. You know, it's kind of sad, but in the same light, the way that I see it, you know, my human body may be disposed of, but I'm a very strong-spirited person, and I know that I'm going to go to a better place, and hopefully not come back to this life again.
Really? Well, so you know, when this government killed my husband and covered it up, and then they came after me like they did Bad Baby. I knew my husband from the time I was 5 years old. He was more than my best friend, and he died horribly. And if the shills, or real government shills, were on here, they would know what I'm talking about. And they really did. It was really sad. The NSA actually came after me, and my lawsuit was 99 to 100%. They were fought via OSHA and their investigation. And can you imagine how I felt as a widow that I'm getting ready to go into court? And, you know, I was told that after 7.5 years from their own depositions, they were right out of Washington, D.C. They hired one of the top 10 law firms that, their words, destroy me, and even bought my own lawyer out. And so it's really been one heck of a trip for me.
Well, I'll tell you what, just so you get some satisfaction out of all of this, and I'm very sorry for what's happened to you and your husband, but just get this much satisfaction out of it. All of these people that did that to you and did that to your husband, they're not going to live through this. These people think that they have all the answers and that they're going to use our tax dollars and technology and they're going to make it through this. Look, let me tell you something. The low-level employees of these alphabet soup agencies, do you think, and I've said this before and I'm going to say it again because I get hot-tempered about this, do you think there's enough room in the underground condominiums for the entire NSA, CIA, FBI, the entire Congress, House of Representatives, every freaking politician, all the militaries? Do you think there's room for them? Oh, hell no. They're going to be out there with us. They're going to be out there with us.
I've even done enough study to know that a lot of that noise we're hearing, it's either the core of the earth is really fired up, and that's coming up. You know, and it can only, you know, like you say, it can't go down, it can only come up. So you know it's going to go right past where they're located at under there. And what I hear from others, I've heard enough comments from others that even helped build them down there that they didn't build them to specification to handle this.
No, I don't think you could build. I don't think we have the technology.
I don't think so.
To save ourselves in that fashion. I've spoke with a few guys that are retired. They don't really, you know, they don't come out and talk about it in public, but they were some of the main contracting firms that worked for 30 years out there in Denver, digging massive, digging those massive caves with those massive boring machines, made tens of millions of dollars, and they're living good. So, you know, they did their part for the government, but they even say, the bottom line is, would you want to be under a mountain when a magnitude 10 earthquake shakes the living hell out of that mountain? I don't want to be there.
You know,
Scott, I've had people email me and say, what if I find a cave and put a bunch of stuff in there and I go in there to get out of the debris? Well, what happens when the earthquake hits and, like, you're in this cave and all this collapses and you're just trapped in there with what you got for a few months? You're just going to be in a cave and starve to death.
Yep, that's what I said. You're not going to have enough food and water to last you for an eternity. You're basically going to sit there. You're going to go through a massive mental breakdown, and then, you know, it's going to be over. I mean, if you've ever watched the movie 2012, yes, I know it's a movie, but, you know, they make these movies for a reason. And if you watch in the movie with John Cusack, is the movie I'm referring to, as the earth is literally shaking and quaking and cracking and opening up, where do you think you're going to hide? I mean, do you have some extra sensory perception that you know the ground that you're standing on right now is not going to open you up and swallow your entire city? We don't know that. Mountains were formed on this earth not over days, years, and eons. They were formed in minutes, being pushed up through the earth's crust. So what do you think you're going to run? You're not going to run from it, is basically what I'm going to say. You're not going to run from it. And
I was taught as a kid that the mountains, my grandparents knew that all the mountains and valleys that you see, that was from a prior pole shift. And they moved with, and you're right, even they, you know, and I even read in scientific papers that that happened in minutes. You're right.
Yes, in minutes. Yes, and you get a very large, well, that's what happens in that movie. There is a very large internal heating of the core of the earth, and they start to undergo a crustal shift because the crust of the earth is literally just floating. And when you get that crustal shift, I think they even mentioned 23, 26, 29 degrees. And those are some of the figures that have actually come up when we refer to the exodus of, you know, Nibiru and Planet X and the brown dwarf, literally tilting our Earth approximately an additional 29 to 30 degrees. Some even say 48 degrees. But again,
I think the saddest thing about all of this is, well, number one, I feel that those like us will, our souls are much better off telling the truth and doing our level-headed best to get the word out. You know, we've tried. You know, you couldn't pay me all the money in the world to be a shill or a troll. You just couldn't do it. And you couldn't pay me all the money in the world to go underground and leave everybody up here not knowing what's about to happen. I think people have a right to know, so that depending on their religious beliefs or whatever, they have a right to know, you know, Christians or whomever, who they believe that they want to repent or whatever. It's their prerogative and they have a right to know. I would want to know. It's just really sad that this government is using CERN and HARP and everything else and chemicals, chemtrails, and it's a global dominance spectrum in the air and on the ground, where they wanted to control everybody's mind so they wouldn't see any of this. And it's just heartbreaking, you know. I know I see it in public, and I know Bad Baby and others that are targeted would know what I'm talking about. It's heartbreaking.
You know, Chris, I think that with what they're doing with the poison and the vaccines and the chemtrails, and what they're trying to do is make the people as sick and as weak as possible so that you don't survive this. Right. And I think that the best advice we could give anybody when this happens or we go through this is that we that do survive have to have compassion and love and help each other. We're not going to get through this alone. If you happen to get through it, you're going to have to stick together and help each other survive it.
Yeah, you're not going to do it. They want division. I mean, their motto is order out of chaos. It's on the back of the dollar bill. And that is what they want, you know, to them. Well, you know, I go with Bad Baby, you know, love and kindness. That's the only way. You know, if I survive for 10 minutes with a broken arm, I hope someone has has enough love and kindness about them to come over with empathy and at least help me.
Well, I had a guest on one of my NIBIRU guests, and I'm not going to mention their name, but they were talking about, you know, you're going to have to be all for yourself. And I said something about pack extra medical in case you come across a child that needs assistance. And this person said, well, you just might have to ignore that child and walk past them. And myself, if I've got to be that way and walk past the injured child, then I don't want to survive if that's
Really?
how I've become.
I just created another a small bug out bag to wear over me, an additional water pack I got cheap, and another one that I just filled with more medical. I'm going to try to put more in even. So because my mind is set on if I survive a little time, if I see someone that needs help, maybe I can help them, if not myself.
Right.
If I can't help me, I can't help anyone else. But that's that's called being humane. That's being part of humanity. It would be, but the chemtrails has made people, it's taken their empathy from them, and it makes you angry.
I think it is dumbing people down.
Yeah.
We're going to have to move on, though, Chris, because we have other people on the phone.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great call. Okay, for those that are on the phone, if you wish to speak to Scott, please push *8, and that will raise your hand, and we will get you unmuted. What do you think, Scott? Do we need compassion, or do we need to be like, oh, well, I only got enough in my backpack to take care of myself?
Well, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I don't care how much you prepare for this. I respect all of the preppers. I speak with some of them from time to time, and they've been prepping for quite a long time, survivalists. There's going to come a point, I think we're going to begin in a large phase of, I call it Earth divided. And you're going to have all of the beautiful human beings on this earth on one side, and you're going to have the evil on the other. And that will be the self-centered, selfish, non-caring, non-compassionate people. And I think you're going to have an internal clash because they're going to want what you have in a physical sense. They're going to want your supplies. They're going to want whatever you have.
Yeah.
And the world's going to be divided.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the hard part, is knowing who's going to be out to get you, or who's going to be there asking for your kindness.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just going to be a card you're going to have to play.
Yeah, I mean, we are talking about a lot of factors that none of us have experienced. So it's going to have to be that situation, learn as you go. Each and every day is going to be a wild adventure. I mean, I'm not making a joke of it, but every day is going to be a wild adventure. I mean, look, just go take yourself and throw yourself out in the forest for a week, 2 weeks. See what happens. Go by yourself. Don't take anything with you. Try to live off the land. Try to catch a fish. Try to trap a rabbit. See what happens. People's modern... I mean, you can go out to a Tractor Supply and you can buy a live trap for $28. Well, what I'm saying is, just think if you don't have access to any of this. Put yourself back in the caveman days. You know what I mean?
Right.
Put yourself way, way, way back there. Okay, now, you are literally faced with nothing. You don't have fire. You don't have electronics. You don't have anything but your body. You, yourself, that's it. Modern man is not ready for this when it comes to the point in time where nothing is going to work. No communications are going to work. What little modern things you have aren't going to last. If you have a cigarette lighter, what do you think, that's a cigarette lighter that's going to light a fire for the next 10 years? No. So, being mentally prepared, I think, is more than half the battle. That's what I've done with myself.
It's not going to be a picnic, that's for sure. Okay.
Yep, it ain't going to be no picnic.
Guest 80, did you have your hand raised?
Yes.
Yes. Would you like to speak to Scott?
Yes, I would, please.
Okay. You're on the air.
Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Pretty good.
This is great that I'm getting to talk tonight. I've just been listening to everybody, and I actually wrote you an email today, but by the Spirit just told me not to send it, so I didn't send it. But anyway, this is just a great opportunity for me to say a few things. My name is Russell, and I'm from Michigan, and I want to share something that was given to me the first time about 20 years ago. And as I was reading the Bible in Revelation chapter 8, I come across the passage that spoke about wormwood. And I read through it, and I was sitting there pondering upon what I read, and this is what I was told. I was told it's coming, and man can do nothing to stop it. Nothing to stop it. And then about 4 years ago, I was walking my little beagle out at the park. I walk every day with my little beagle. And this day while I was walking at the park, I was told just out of the blue, the Spirit spoke to me. And I was told everything has gone full circle. It is now time for the ring of return. And when I was told this, I didn't know exactly what it meant. But that day, I felt such a powerful drive, an urge, if you will. When I got home, I got on my computer and started to search. And I came across a website. There was no doubt in my mind that the Spirit directed me to this website, but it's rodcdavis.com. He's an individual who has done a lot of research and a lot of things, paranormal and spiritual things. What a powerful man of God this man is. But anyway, I went on his website, made contact with him, and we started to communicate back and forth together. And I shared some dreams and visions that I've been given. This all started for me about 23 years ago after a supernatural experience that I had. But to make the long story short, I started to communicate with Reverend Davis, and he said, send me all your dreams and visions. I want to read them. And my older brother, who's included in this as well, we got together and we sent all the dreams and visions that Holy Spirit has given to us to Reverend Davis, and he started to place them on his website. But the reason why I'm calling is one thing that nobody ever talks about. I'm amazed. What about the two witnesses spoken about in the book of Zechariah and the book of Revelation? What about these two that are taken up and stand before Christ to be his witnesses to what they see and to what they hear and return to earth and speak what they're given to the whole world? Now, we know we got governments, we got trolls, we got all these people trying to suppress what you, Scott, and many others are trying to make known to the world. Let me tell you this in the audience listening. God's two witnesses are here on the earth right now. And they've been prepared now for over 20 years. And soon they're going to be taken up. And they're going to stand before Christ. And they're going to hear from him all that they've been called to see and witness, as Enoch did in his time. And when they return to the earth, they are going to proclaim everything that they've been given. And I don't care who tries to stop them. Governments, ETs, I don't care. Nobody is going to stop their ministry because God is going to protect them. And everything that they've been given is going to be proclaimed to everybody on the face of the whole earth. So these governments and whoever else is going to try to stop them will not be able to stop them because they're going to be divinely protected until their ministry and their prophecy is completed. And I was told it is coming and man can do nothing to stop it. This system, whatever it is, it's got a cycle. I've been told that by Holy Spirit. And it's now making its ring of return to enter into our solar system again. And we know from the Bible in many passages, Isaiah chapter 24, the book of Revelation, is pretty much all about the passing of this planet through our system. It raves havoc upon our world. Mm-hmm. The book of Isaiah states that very few men are left. So that goes to tell you, through the ministry of the two witnesses in the Holy Bride Church that are gathered together unto them, and they are given many messages by the prophets, the two witnesses, and God's Holy Bride Church is going to fill the earth with the truth, and they will not be stopped. Remember, Christ said it will be as it was in the days of Noah, just before I return. What was the days of Noah all about? The great flood, the great cleansing, the great destruction of all the sinners. But God kept a remnant who was true to him. It's going to be the same way in this last day. The two witnesses go forth and preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, not the corrupted gospel, but the gospel that Jesus taught 2,000 years ago, and the gospel and the law of God that was from the very beginning given to Adam became corrupted. Christ came to restore it, renew it. Once again, it got corrupted. God sends the two witnesses to restore, to renew the law of Almighty God and the true gospel of Jesus Christ. And all those that are drawn to it and all those who will listen to it will be in a place of safety. God says, for my elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. In other words, God's elect. We don't know yet how he's going to protect his elect. But all those are brought into the fold, all those are brought into the ark because they embrace the holy law of God. Brought anew, restored again by the two witnesses in his Holy Bride Church. They will receive divine protection. While they're on planet, off planet, we don't know yet. But this is God's message. There is a way out. God will protect his elect and all others who are not in the fold, who are not brought into the ark of safety, whatever that ark of safety may be in this generation. Woe unto them. I would not want to be them because they are going to have to suffer the onslaught that's coming from this system, this planet, whatever it is, it's going to come through our solar system to cleanse the earth.
That's exactly what I call it. You took the words right out of my mouth. I've actually used that phrase before, and it seems that as time goes on, the earth needs this cleansing. And just like you said, it's running in cycles, and this is God's way of, okay, I gave you a chance before, and evil made its way back to my earth. Well, now I have to cleanse the entire earth of this evil. He did it once, he did it twice, and he'll do it again. And I believe that we are right in the midst of this cleansing. And there are two ways to look at this. You can look at it in a scientific way, like I do, and you can look at it in a biblical way, like I do. You can put them together.
Yes, you can.
But science is not going to win the battle when it comes to what you're referring to. It's just not. And we're all, like I said, we're all going to have to step up to the plate, and you're going to have to make that decision. You should have already made that decision now. What side you're going to be on? Good,
yes.
Evil, belief. And I'm not a vastly religious man. I have my beliefs. I don't publicize them too much because I deal with tens of thousands of people every day.
Yes, you do.
But I've had many deep, long conversations with Gil Broussard, and Gil's a fantastic biblical scholar, and his information on this subject is the best that I've been exposed to. The facts are there. Facts are there.
I've listened to some of his videos. It's very very informative. But that's one thing. That's one thing. This is something that I was told also by the Spirit, and it would take me too long to explain all this. If the listeners care to, go to rodcdavis.com and go on his website, and he's got myself and my brother on there and our dreams and visions. But one of the things that I was told was, I was told the evil one knows who you are, why you're here, and he knows you're going to do great damage to his kingdom. And we know it's not by our might or power, but by the Spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. It's not by our physical might or power, but by the Spirit of Almighty God working through us. We're going to expose the workings of the evil one and all the evil governments and all the things that are going on in this earth. We're trying to find out, but we're not being able to find out because they just keep us in the dark. Well, believe me, when the Lord sends us as his two witnesses, and we go forth and proclaim these things, we will know the deep secrets. All things shall be revealed, and there's not a thing they can do to stop us. Exactly. Not until our testimony and our prophecy is completed according to God Almighty's will. And it's going to enrage them. That's why they hate the two witnesses so badly, because they expose all their evil doings. And there's not a thing they can do about it. Not one thing they can do about it.
Russell,
I agree.
Russell, where are you located in Michigan at? I'm in Michigan also.
Waterford, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
My brother and I live. Yes.
Yeah, Russell, next time you sit down and you start penning an email to me, don't hesitate. Send it to me. I would love to hear from you. And because I tell you, I have, we just tipped over 40,000 subscribers to my channel just
I'm
yesterday.
one of them. I'm one of them. I just signed up not long ago.
Yeah, and I do have a very gracious base of people that are surrounding me, and I always thank every single one of them. And I do get about 1,000 emails a day, and I do, spend a couple hours a day, going through the emails. And, a lot of them are very touching. Some of them give me chills. They're kind of like chills of joy, to hear all of these heartfelt things. And it touches my heart. And I start to think sometimes, well, I'll be truthful. I think every single day, why did I thrust myself into what I'm doing? And I started investigating, the theories of Planet X and the Nemesis solar system 13 years ago in depth. Mm-hmm. But as the time has gone on and more of this has come to light, and it seems that our time is getting shorter, that's when I decided, okay, I have to stand for something. Something lit up inside of me that said, listen, you know, you have the ability, and people will listen to you. So, you know, I'm not saying I'm the chosen one, because there are a lot of people.
I'm very thankful that you answered that yearning, that call. That you know, there's a lot of people out there that are truly seeking answers. They're just seeking to know and to understand what is going on. Things are not normal.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And, you know, I do think every single day, why did I thrust myself into this? And I do have to say that this may sound kind of odd, but when I do start to sit and think about it, when I'm sitting at this computer for 14 hours a day, sometimes even a complete 24-hour day, and I don't sleep, you know, I do have this joy that comes over to me, and it pushes me more and more and more, because I know eventually that I'm touching all of these human beings and they're touching me. And I think that's what this is all about at this point in time, is it's unity. You know, I mean, Jesus spoke about it. You know, I mean, unity amongst mankind is what this is all about. Us coming together as a species. You know, he didn't preach about division of mankind. He talked about unity, and I think that that's what we're going to be thrust into, is to bringing this earth back together as one. May we, our human bodies may not make it because they're fragile, you know, little biological creatures, but our spirits are very strong.
That's right.
You know,
our soul and spirit lives on. The physical may pass away, but the soul and spirit lives on.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the next time you're about to push that send button and send me an email, send that email to me, and you know, I'll remember your name. And
there's so many things. You know, I realize you can't do it on a talk show like this. There's so many things. That's why Reverend Davis, the one the Holy Spirit brought us in contact with, we sent all our dreams and visions to him, and he's placed them on his website for the listeners out there who would care to go and check these dreams and visions. And there's a lot of other things that Reverend Davis has on his website, but it's rodcdavis.com.
Yeah, I'll be looking him up tomorrow.
Yeah, scroll down.
Hey, isn't he going to do the inauguration for Donald Trump?
Rod C. Davis? Roderick C. Davis is the man's name.
I think he's on his advisory board, on Donald Trump's advisory board.
Well, I should be on his advisory board.
But he's an amazing man. I mean, he's just so full of knowledge and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
He's had many spiritual experiences, and yeah, he's quite a man. You know.
I would really like you to send me an email. I'd like to get with you and talk to you about your dreams and visions, if you'd like.
Sure. I mean, that's something that my brother and I and Reverend Davis, he's been on a few talk shows, but he's never gotten on a talk show yet that he really felt like he wanted to invite us, as God's two witnesses, to be with him. But believe me, if the opportunity ever arises, we would be there in a heartbeat to do it, because we've just been waiting for this opportunity. And we know the Holy Spirit was eventually going to bring it about. But as I was listening to the show tonight in the conversations, I said, I really need to call in and you know, put my 2 cents in. And I just wanted to talk to Scott and everybody else, too. I mean, it's a real blessing for me to be able to do this. This is the first talk show I've ever called in. I've never done this before. So it's just, I just knew it was something I needed to do.
Well, you know, I mean, Bad Baby has been fantastic, you know, hosting me on her show for a good many times now, and we're going to continue, because, you know, we both carry the same message. You know, I heard a few of these trolls and chills, and they're like, oh, she's biased, and she's like, well, of course she's biased, because she has an agenda. I have an agenda, just like you do, and my agenda is to live on. I want to live on in peace, man. This world that we live in now is really a screwed up place. Yes, unfortunately, this is the time that God has chosen us to live in. Yeah. We have to face it. We have to live in it. But over the course of the next, you know, weeks and months, whatever time we have, I'm going to be back on here with Bad Baby. I mean, I love her to death. You know, we've never met in person, but, you know, we have our own unity now, and we're going to continue doing what we do. There's just no doubt about it.
Yeah, we want to hear from the people. Right, Scott? We want to hear from the people. We want you to call in and talk to us and tell us what you think, or, you know, give your opinion, or if you have something to say, we want to hear it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
You know, and spreading the word, you know, you always hear that one phrase, spreading the word of God. And it's used so much.
Yes, it is.
And I'm going to make it just a little analogy here, just a little assimilation, but that's what we should be doing right now. You know, you can spread the word of God, and even if you reach one person a day or one person a year, but spreading this information. And it's very hard to sit someone down and talk about this subject to them because the world is so dumbed down now that
that's for sure.
Exposing this type of information to someone, and when you talk to them for 10 or 15 minutes and then you look in their eyes, they look like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah,
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And what do people say about, you know, religion? Oh, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But when the time comes, who are they going to be praying to?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
when tragedy strikes.
Well, you know, when
right.
I first started doing these shows and I started delving into all the corruption in the government, I was so heavily microwaved and targeted that I just couldn't take it anymore. So I quit doing the shows for about a year and a half. And the Holy Spirit and the Lord came and told me that I had to come back and do these shows. And I didn't know anything about NIBIRU at that time. But now that I'm, you know, coming out here and doing all this, it's, you know, and I cried. I said, oh, Lord, please don't make me go back out there. They torture me. And he said, would you please do it for me, you know? And how can you say no to the Lord? I mean,
yeah.
and, you know, and I don't care what they do to me.
All the people they need to hear, they need to hear these things. They're not going to hear it from the mainline media. The controlled media, they're not going to talk about these things. You know,
exactly.
they're avenue through the internet
Now I understand why I had to come back. So, you know, and I go through a lot of hell to come out here to do this stuff, and I get a lot of harassment. But you know what? I don't care because nothing matters anymore except where we're going to go and how we're going to treat each other.
You know, I'm going to be quite honest with both of you and every single person listening to us right now. You know how people say that, okay, I was saved. They go to a ministry and they're saved. During my early years as a young adult, I was thrust into a life of a great career, a lot of money, and a disgusting amount of excess.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived that life for more than 22 years. And I wasn't the best person to be around. I wasn't the best person at all. And I broke every rule in the book. You know, number one, my job was, you know, in international advertising and marketing. So I basically was out there and as this super salesman and working for my father's company and living in excess. And I'm talking like, you know, very high level. Fast cars, fast boats, fast women, drugs, alcohol, you know, the whole 9 yards. Everything in excess. My clothes, where I live, whatever. And in 2005, I retired from all of it, threw it all away, and just went back to living life as just a common individual, not no super duper celebrity type life that I was living before. And once again, like I said, I do not have to bring any of this into my life. But there came that point. Now, I'm not saying the Holy Spirit came down to me or God himself or Jesus came to me and said, this is what you have to do. But there was this internal light that just clicked on.
I know.
And it said, okay, you know, everything that you've done over the past 25 years, it's now time for reconciliation. And you have the knowledge, you have the gift, people will listen to you. They've been listening to you for the past 22 years. You chose to take those abilities and make millions and millions and millions of dollars for people and corporations all over the world, so you know that people will listen to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is this my reconciliation? Well, you're damn right it is. Am I doing it just for that fact? No, I am not. So everybody can turn over a new leaf, and that's what I've done. And
I know I have. Yes, it happened to me too.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Okay.
That's where I'm at in this stage.
Okay, you guys. Honey, I'm going to put my email up in the chat, and we have other callers, so we're going to move on. Thank you so much for having the courage to call in, and when we're back out here, feel free to call back and talk to us again, honey.
I will do that, and thank you for the time. God bless you all.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. My email is up in the chat, so send me out an email. Okay, let's move on. Welcome to the call, Guest 101. Do you have a question or a comment for Scott?
Hi.
Hello.
How you doing?
Yeah, so you're saying that, what is it? Let me think.
NIBIRU, Planet X.
Yeah, so it's not really a planet, it's a dwarf star, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the dwarf star, I mean, in the theories that have been out there for quite some time, the theory is that the brown dwarf star, as they named it Nemesis, is the center of this small solar system. And I was just actually doing more research on these brown dwarfs over the last couple of days. And I think there's been over 2,000 of them that have been discovered by, astronomers and space agencies. And the majority of them do have planets that orbit around them, almost like little mini solar systems. So the fact of the matter that through ancient times and all of the evidence that this small solar system, and I use the word small because nothing in space seems to be small, but has once again, moved into or is clashing with our inner solar system, and it's basically something that we have to face. Now, as far as 100% evidence, like I've said tonight several times, the only people that are going to give us that 100% solid evidence are the international space agencies and the governments that are involved that have the knowledge to step up to the plate and tell everybody what they know and what they found. Other than that, you're going to have people like me and others that are just going to spend countless hours, days, weeks, months, and years trying to search for the answers.
Oh, yeah, I see. So if this planet, I don't know, did reach us here, are we going to have a pole shift?
Well, I mean, I can't say 100%, but as you look at the biblical writings and the evidence from the ancient past, this pole shift, we're talking about not a magnetic pole shift of north and south, but we're talking about a crustal shift. That has pretty much been experienced in each of the passings that have been documented. It's basically a changing of the entire Earth. And I do believe that, there will be crustal shifts, probably, no doubt. There would be nothing to prevent it. Scientifically, it's almost a 100%. I mean, the Earth's core now is heating up. It's been scientifically proven that it's heating up. You just take a look at, what's happening right now on the Earth. Just open up the internet.
One of the things that everybody should do, Scott, is go into Google and put animal die-off list and pull that list up, and you will be in. I mean, I've pulled it up before and read it on my show, and it's just too long now to even read. And I'm talking from month to month. And I'm not talking 10 or 15 birds dying. I'm talking 10,000 tons of birds and fish at an occurrence.
Yeah,
so,
I think you're going to see.
All these animals dying for just their health, No,
you're going to see more and more and more of this occurring as time goes on, and you're not going to see too much of it publicized because it's going to start to draw a lot of questions from people. Like I said, you may see it real quickly, on your local media, but you're going to stop seeing it on national and worldly news. They're just not even going to report it, just like they don't report a lot of things now. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
they're getting into the habit. They're getting into the habit of not reporting. You know, if they're supposed to report things, they're just getting into the habit. Okay, well, what they don't know ain't going to hurt them. The old saying.
Yep.
Maybe it has something to do with that. What's the word I'm looking for? That we actually have seven. What's the number again? 7 billion people on this planet, probably.
Oh, you're talking about global warming?
Maybe.
You're talking about too many people on the planet, and that, as far as I'm concerned about that, it's nothing but a cover story. That's why they're using that excuse for the extreme weather and blah blah blah. You know, I mean, I'll give you a for instance. Al Gore came up with that BS.
Yeah, Al Gore.
Oh, we got global warming. We don't change it, we're going to have all these earth changes and weather changes and blah, blah, blah. Well, if Al Gore is so worried about global warming, why does he own 5 mansions and even just one of them has a $30,000 Edison bill? Doesn't seem to me like he's too worried about using energy, does it?
Yeah, I mean, with the whole global warming aspect, I mean, yes, there's no doubt that what we do on this earth as far as industry and transportation and what we use and abuse does affect, you know, the ozone. But I don't think that mankind is going to heat the earth up from the inside.
Yeah.
You know,
okay, Guest 101, we're going to have to move on, but thank you so much for calling in. And feel free to call back when we're out here again.
So you're saying there's no safest place to, you know, from this, you know, that underground's not going to help because you said earthquakes and I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's just going to be, you're going to just going to have to come to the point where don't be scared, because you know your fear is probably going to cause you to expire very quickly. You're going to have to stand up to whatever everyone else is going to be faced with. Band together with people. Don't be by yourself. And you know, I don't know exactly how much time is left. I wish it would all just go away like dust in the wind.
Yeah, me
too. I don't think that's the case. Keep yourself educated in the fact of what's going on. Keep your mind, you know, tuned in to your life and what you're doing, and things will come to you. I mean, I have a lot of people that email me on a daily basis that are scared. I'm scared. I'm scared as a human being. You know, my flesh and blood and bones of my body. But as far as my mind goes, that's one part of me that's not scared. Because in reality, I guess I'm really ready to stand up and face whatever's here. And yeah, when I see it, of course, I'll probably crap my pants like everybody else.
Exactly.
But the fact of the matter is, brother, we all have to stand up and stand together. If not, it's going to be even a rougher road. So enjoy.
So, if we're going to live in fear, then why, you know, do you ride a bicycle? Dude, have you ever rode a bicycle? Well, then don't get on that darn thing and go out there on the road because someone might hit you.
Yeah, don't drink your tap water because that could kill you.
I mean, we could live in fear every minute of our life. We could walk outside and someone could do a drive-by shooting, you know. I mean, I'm not going to live that way. Whatever happens to me when it's written in the book for me to cross, I'm ready. You know, and that's the way it is. But thank you so much for calling in, Guest 101. Like I said, we're going to be back out here again. Feel free to call back in again if you have any questions or comments.
Yeah, all right. And one more question. This is the final one.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're saying this radiation thing has a huge effect on children?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, that's scientific fact. You can look that up on the internet. Just, you know, Google it or, you know, whatever browser you use. Start looking at some information on the effects of radiation to children, young adults, you know, things of that nature.
What age of children?
Oh, we're talking from infant all the way to, you know, through your teenage years. Like I said, at the point when your body actually stops growing, what is that, 19, 20, 21? I mean, every single person's a little different. But yes, it has It has a very, very bad effect on children and very young people.
So if a person stops growing, that's not going to be a big issue, right?
If they stop growing, well, I mean, everybody's going to be affected. Anybody can be affected by radiation. Every single person would be affected in a different way. What I was referring to with children and the reports that I read is what happens to their DNA. Their strands of DNA are literally broken, like broken in half physically. So therefore, the long-term effects for a child, as that child grows, the long-term effects are worse than what they would be for someone, say, in their 50s or 40s or 30s. You understand what I'm saying? So for a child...
it's not really going to... Oh, I see.
Yes, it's going to affect them in the long term very, very drastically.
Oh.
You know, and there's a lot of information out there pertaining to this, and it was very sad to read, but, you know, I mean, I have to do as much research and find these things out. And, you know, when I read that, it was kind of sad, you know, that...
Is it life-threatening?
Oh, any kind of radiation exposure could be life-threatening, whether you're getting it from cosmic radiation or radiation from a nuclear power plant or, you know, or anything like that. But if you just look up on the Google radiation today, and like I said, there's that website that details radiation listings all across the globe, and it updates itself. And you can check it out. You can pinpoint where you live, and you could monitor radiation levels right where you live. Matter of fact, they even make a new wrist. They even make a new wristwatch that has a radiation level detector in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Guest 101. We're going to move on because it's getting almost time to wrap up. We got a few more people that are waiting. Central Texas, did you have a question or a comment for Scott? Okay.
I think we might have lost Central Texas.
Okay. Southwest Michigan, did you have a question or a comment for Scott? Okay, I'm going to move on, and we have one more. Arizona, you have a comment or a question for Scott?
Yes. The last caller in talking about the children brought up a question in my mind. Will there be mutations of human beings, do you think?
Well, I know that any type of exposure, long-term exposure to radiation would probably definitely cause some type of, you know, mutations in any living organism. You know, whether you be an animal or, you know, a human being. I really couldn't answer that question. I guess we're going to have to see, but I'm sure. I mean, Lord only knows what's out there in space. Bacteria, microbes.
Weird, Scott, they're showing a lot of more animals and frogs and lizards that are being born with two heads.
Oh, I know. There's a lot of things in nature that nature gets exposed to that is basically garbage of man. That is, you know, man is left out.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a few years back in one of the rivers where I live is a massive river, and you know, the Fish and Game Commission, they do studies every single year on the fish, and they shock them to the surface. And they analyze them and they tag them. And they started noticing that one section of the river, which was near a coal mine water runoff that was illegally being dumped into the river, and I think it was bromide. And these catfish had these massive tumors on their backs. So again, you know, that's a mutated. And then they found these catfish that were the size of human beings in our river.
Yeah, catfish get huge. I used to go fishing all the time up here in the St. Clair River and catch walleye, and there is an Edison plant on the Canadian side that years ago they got caught dumping waste into the river, and I'll never forget because I wouldn't eat the fish after I went fishing one time. I pulled a walleye in that looked like it had acid dumped on its head. Its face is all bubbly.
Hey, I'll tell you this much. I'll tell you this much: if you want to see modern day mutants right now, just go to your local Walmart. You'll see. You will see.
That's a good one.
You can go there. You can go there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't matter what time you walk through that door.
Because I did see a lady on a video that pulled her pants down and peed in the beer cooler at Walmart.
Oh my Lord! Yeah, that's the best place to find modern day mutants is Walmart. You'll find them there. But I'd have a hard time answering your question because I think that's something that's a little too much in foresight for me. You know, I hope to God that doesn't happen. But I think any exposure to things that are unknown, especially things that come from the cosmos, things that we've never experienced before. You know, I mean, like I said, our solar system is traveling along through, you know, our little section of the Milky Way, which is so massive that you can't even comprehend the size of it.
Right.
And we're just like this little tiny grain of sand, just
Not
moving
even
along.
that.
Yeah, exactly,
Not
just
even
moving
that.
along. So we're experiencing things as we go along, and God only knows what we're going to be coming in contact with, what the Earth's going to be coming in contact with as time goes on. And
right. You know, God takes the small things, the things that are despised, the things that aren't, to put to shame the things that are. So this little blue planet, I don't know if it's blue anymore because they won't show us pictures of the Earth as it is now, you know, from space. But
that is true.
I'm sure there are some very yellow spots on us now, especially with Fukushima and everything that has happened on this Earth. But you know,
and that's another thing that you brought up, Fukushima. You know, people don't realize that when this happens, we aren't going to have electricity, and all these nuclear plants are going to melt down. So, I mean, it might just be a blessing that you don't survive it, because if you do, you're going to have to go through the radiation meltdown, and you know, people are going to suffer in that. So, I really don't want to survive it.
It talks in the Bible about men will be grasping their stomachs in total agony, and that's radiation poisoning.
Yeah,
that's one
exactly.
of the symptoms of radiation poisoning is internal, just terrible internal pain in the gastric area.
Yeah, that's what I had. That's what I had going on. If you listened to me a little bit ago, and I was explaining what was happening to me the day after Christmas, it was 67 degrees. 67 degrees where I lived. The sun was shining. It was like a spring day. The sun was burning my skin. You know, at the end of December. I mean, I live outside of the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it's wintertime. You know, not springtime. Yeah. And I went through that almost a 72-hour period of. I felt like somebody beat me with a baseball bat, but I wasn't sick.
Right.
But I couldn't get off of the sofa. I slept for, I think, 28 hours straight.
I had a terrible bout of intestinal problems just the morning of the 26th. It was awful. And then, you know, on the 25th, it was chilly. 26th, it was bright sunshine. We got into the 70s.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
it got into the 70s here.
We're really running over time today.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank you guys. I really, you know, what Chris said, I really appreciate your being on the air. I know what it takes. Well, I don't know. Actually, I really don't know. I'm a target too. And I've been through some real hard times. But I can't imagine what that baby must be going through and what she's dealing with now. And you also, Scott, I mean, you had somebody try to blow you up with a pipe bomb in your car.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I get
that
abused.
is, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I get abused. I get abused every single day. You know, I get the death threats by email. I mean, if you've ever been in the comment section of any of my videos, you know, you see all the trash talking that these idiots do. But, I'm
we're
pretty
getting abused
thick-skinned.
in the chat tonight also. I'm trying to keep an eye on it and mute them, but they just log out and log back in, with their the thing they don't understand about that is when they come in and they do all this nasty, evil talk, all they're doing is bringing that negative energy right back to themselves.
That's right.
So,
right.
It doesn't upset me. It makes me feel bad for them.
Right. Well, that is persecution. And we are going to be, as one of the gentlemen who called in said, Satan knows what each and every one of us, what our future is going to be and what we're going to do. And so he's going to persecute us more, and through the persecution, we're going to learn the fruit of the Spirit, patience. And that is so important. And long-suffering and humility and faith, faithfulness, and eventually love. And we can even love them. Even though they're evil and they're doing all these evil things, we can have compassion for them because we know what their end will be.
No,
and it's not going to be anything nice.
They're going to come up short.
Yeah,
okay, Arizona, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you calling in. Feel free when we're back out here to call in and talk with us again. Guest 171 says, thank you, Scott and Bad Baby. We thank you all in the chat for joining us. And I thank you, Scott, for coming out and spending time and talking to the people.
Yeah, no problem. I enjoy each and every time that we're here. And, I think this, the new format that's being developed, between me and you and the listeners is working very, very well. It's allowing others to create and have that voice to get some things off their chest, to get some questions answered if possible, but just knowing that you have a voice and that you have people out there that will listen to you.
The thing is, Scott, people want to be able to be comforted and get some answers to what they are afraid of. And I think that when we come out here and we do these call-in shows, we give them a chance to realize that, it's not the end, it's the beginning.
Now, that is true, and that's the way that I look at it. I definitely don't – you never hear me say that it's going to be the end of the world. That's just there are some people out there that do say that type of thing, but, I don't think it will be the end of the world. Hey, it might be the end of my human life, but it's not going to be the end of my world.
Well, I've done a lot of shows about near-death experiences, and people say that it's just like taking your clothes off and stepping out of your body. So, I don't think it's anything to worry about as long as you know where you're going. And that's what I would say is, like this Arizona said, get your spiritual life in order. And if you don't have a belief, then maybe you should try to find a belief. Because
I find that here's what got me, that whenever you are trying to search for that faith or that insight, and I want everybody to listen very, very closely, because as I just said a little while ago, that I lived a very excessive life, attached to very expensive things. Whenever you're able to let go of materialistic things, then your insight becomes much more clear. So do you understand what I'm saying? So if you throw away, you get so attached to material life that you just lose all perception of the real deal. So once you forget about, I'm going to miss my fancy car, I'm going to miss my family members, I'm going to miss my house, my money, my this, my that. When you forget about all of that, because it's irrelevant, it's just completely irrelevant.
If there's an EMP, Scott, how are you going to get your money out of the bank? Your money ain't going to make any difference anyways.
Exactly, but what I'm saying is that's where people kind of, if you could, if you could make that distinction and get rid of the attachment to material life, then you don't have to worry about what happens to your human body.
Exactly.
Because you can't kill your soul. You cannot kill your aura and your spirit. That will live forever, because you know why? It's energy that God created, and that's all that we are. We're little balls of energy in an energetic galaxy and universe and in his house. And that's what we are. You know, if you want to take a paranormal stance to it, I mean, I've been investigating paranormal activity for more than 25 years. I have my own paranormal group. And that is what they are. Little balls of energy. That's what you will go back to. You know, your little energetic state. So once you lose the materialistic crap and you understand that that's what you really are. That's what you really are. You're that little ball of energy in a vast ocean of even more energy. So there is nothing to fear. I don't care if that planet drops on top of the Earth. It would be scary, but your human brain is what would be scared, not your spiritual side, not your energy's not going to be scared, because you can't destroy energy. Ask any scientist, ask any physicist, ask any astrophysicist. You cannot destroy energy. It makes up everything. It's just a fact.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a safe and happy New Year's, and we will be back out here in a few weeks, folks, and Scott will post it up on his site, and I will post it up on mine, and, we'll book another show, and we'll do another call-in, because I think that it's good for us, and it's also good for you.
Yep, absolutely. Sounds good to me, and you have a very happy New Year, and I'll be speaking to you soon, and everybody else have a happy New Year, and God bless.
God bless you, too.
Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fight for Our Freedom Radio. And tonight we have Scott C1 from the NIBIRU channel with us, and I'm not sure if Steve is going to be joining us or not. I haven't received confirmation. I hope he does call in, though. And we are going to be talking about the latest updates with what's happening to our planet, and also we're going to be taking calls. So before we get started, let's start out with my opening bumper song. Okay, I'm not seeing Scott in the window yet. I'm wondering if he's having a problem getting logged in. Had that happen before. But I will unmute you guys as fast as I can here. And if I don't get to you, just hang in there for a minute. If I have to, I'll have to go and call Scott and find out what the heck's going on. So hold on, let me go over and check on Facebook. And for those that want to ask questions tonight, you're going to have to call in 1-724-444-7444 and enter the code 43503. And when you get on the phone, you're going to have to push *8 to raise your hand. And you will be muted until we get to your number. I don't see him. He's not on Facebook, so maybe he's... Sometimes we do get blocked from logging in here. So anyways, we're going to talk a little bit tonight about the radiation level and how high it has been. I was looking at some of the data on the computer, and I don't know if you guys are experiencing this or not, but a lot of people are complaining about headaches and joint pain. And Scott did a video about this, talking about how the radiation levels are so high that it's affecting everybody's health. So I still don't see him in the room yet. I don't know what's going on. Well, let's give him a couple minutes. Maybe he always calls in through the computer, and he might be being blocked. Hello, guest 26. I did get confirmation from him because he said he said he was going to put up a video inviting everyone to the call. Yeah, and what I'm hearing is that a lot of people are having joint pain and they're having headaches, and I'm also hearing about in the warmer states that people are that they're getting sunburned really fast. So it's really amping up with the radiation, I think, and one of the things that I recommend is if you're being affected by the radiation, get yourself a salt lamp. Salt lamps will help with cutting down on the radiation. And there was another guy, Scott sent me to his site, that was talking about putting Marley blankets on your windows. Well, there is trying to think of the site I got them at, but there are Marley blankets. They're called solar curtains, and they're the same thing as Marley blankets. In fact, I purchased them, and they're like $7 for 2 of them, and they have the top of it has where you can put it right through the curtain rod. So you might want to look that up. Just look up solar curtains and hang those on your windows and see if that helps out. I have them on mine. I've had them on mine for a couple years now, and it seems like after a year or so the coating starts to get holes in it and that, so they do have to be replaced. But I'll tell you, they are very, very effective. And another thing I want to talk about, we're waiting for Scott to join us, or those that just came in. Another thing I want to talk about is the people that are having headaches. You can purchase some essential oils, and if you don't have a fuser, just put a little bit in a bowl of warm water and use a wash rag and dip it in the warm water and put that on your head, and that will help. I think the best thing for headaches is lilac essential oil. You can also use peppermint, but look it up. Look up essential oils and migraine headaches, and frankincense is a good one too. And you can also massage those on your feet. If you look up essential oils and massaging them on your feet for your health, go into YouTube, Dr. Axe. He does a really good one, and yes, Scott has just joined us. Hi, Cutie Patootie. Did you have a hard time joining us?
Yeah, actually, whenever I was dialing the number to call in, it kept connecting me to a locksmith.
Well, let me tell you, when I first started being harassed about doing my shows, I couldn't even get in the window. There were times that my guest was waiting in my window for 20 minutes for me to come in and start the show. So you're being redirected is what's going on. And I would keep getting directed to some little old lady or some little old man's house, and he'd say, "Would you quit calling me?"
Well, that's what this locksmith just kept saying. You know, he's I forget the name of it. Leichman Locks. It's like a locksmith guy. Phone rings directly to his house. You know.
Yeah. You know, what they want you to do is they want you to get frustrated and give up. But for those that are coming in the window, if you have a problem calling in and you're being redirected, just be persistent. Sometimes you got to hang up for about 5 minutes and then try it again, but you will get through eventually. It's just somebody trying to block you.
Yeah, how does my my microphone sound to you? We don't have any feedback?
No, I haven't got no feedback yet. So, Scott, what in the world is going on with these earthquakes and the radiation level? We were just kind of talking a little bit. I was talking to the guests a little bit about how everybody's being affected by this radiation with headaches and joint pain. So what the heck's going on here?
Well, let me just tell you what happened to me the day after Christmas. The day after Christmas, we had the temperatures soar from 17 degrees in the morning to 67 degrees by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And, I live in southwestern Pennsylvania, 20 miles south of the city of Pittsburgh. So, in the end of December, we usually have a average temperature of about, anywhere from, I'd say, 30 degrees to about maybe 35 degrees. The lows will dip down into the high teens, low 20s. Usually we don't have snow on the ground, but the temperatures here have been very, very erratic, is the word to say. Very erratic and psychedelic, to use another word, because it has been just that. The skies have been these burning pink sunrises, and I have hundreds of pictures that I've taken, and I've never seen sunrises in this time of the year where I live. Now, when I lived in South Florida, it was different. You could see those beautiful sunrises every morning. Then the sunsets. The sunsets are literally the whole entire sky from east to west, north to south, is this burnt, deep orange color. And again, I have hundreds of pictures that I have been taking since a few days before Christmas. And just, I woke up one morning and I walked outside. The sun had just come up, but it was very, very thick, overcast skies. It looked like, you weren't going to see the sun for days. But all of the thick cloud cover had a very bright pink hue to it. And I took some photographs of that also. And it's just amazing me. So I talked about it on one of my videos the day before Christmas. And I got all of these photographs in from all over the world, people experiencing the same thing. So the day after Christmas, after, we had some real warm weather, 40s, 50s. It was 67 degrees, sun shining. It was like a spring day, people running around in shorts. And about mid-afternoon, I was outside for a while. I had some errands to run. And I got back around 3 o'clock. I sat down, and about an hour later, every single bone in my body started to ache at the joints. My lower back, my elbows, my knees, everything. And then the muscle ache set in. It was like I was in some type of a wrestling match where I played tackle football without pads, or I had the flu. And then my skin started feeling like it was on fire. And then the last symptom I got was all of my internal organs, my stomach, my lungs, everything felt like it was burning inside, and it literally put me down, and I mean down on my sofa from 5 o'clock in the afternoon the day after Christmas. I didn't get back up off of the sofa until the morning of the 29th. I was literally crippled to hell.
It sounds like you were being microwaved.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Something, either that or, I had a lot of subscribers sending me emails in the days around the same time, and a lot of them were telling me the same thing. They were all thinking that it was this flu symptom, but you recover from it within 48 hours. So I don't know anybody that's had the flu, the stomach flu or whatever, for 48 hours. I didn't have any symptoms of the flu other than, those very serious aches and pains. I'm 48 years old, but I'm in pretty good shape. I don't have any medical problems. I take no medications. I'm perfectly sound. But for something like that to put me down for that amount of time, and for me to sleep, now I know I needed to rest, but for me to sleep, almost 30 hours straight, it was like I was in a coma. So when I was listening to the subscribers in their emails, I had a couple of hundred of them that said the same thing. And they weren't just from the United States either. They were from many other countries.
Yeah, so, but, Scott, they've got the Tetra Towers, and they're using them on the whole population now, which, I've done many shows about the Tetra Towers where they're planning on turning those on and microwaving the whole population and making us all just lay right down. And, from being a target and being microwaved, that's what you're describing to me, is that you're being microwaved. And due to the fact of what you're talking about and what they've tried to do to you, they probably are microwaving you. What I would do if I was you is whatever houses are around you, watch to see if they never leave the house, and also if they keep all of their porch lights on and their garage lights. That means they're on duty. That's probably where. And if you also see somebody cutting down all the trees and the foliage in line with your place, that's where it's coming from.
Well, I remember you telling me that the last time, and where I live, nobody lives around me.
Doesn't matter. They have a screen, Scott. I've seen it. They moved it when they were using it on me, and they moved it at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just happened to be outside. It was a full moon that night, and I was filling my dog's water pans, and I saw him coming up the road in a pickup truck with a car in front of it and a car behind it, and they had their four-way flashes on, and I was like, what the heck are they doing? And when they got to my driveway, they slowed up and looked in my yard to see if I was out there. Well, I stepped behind the tree, and when they went past me, this thing that was on this truck looked like a giant iPad, and it was hanging off the back of this truck about 6 feet, and it was probably about 8 feet wide. And so I called Independence, and I asked them, I said, what in the heck was that? He said, that's a military high-power microwave screen, and they can microwave you from 3 football fields away with that thing.
My God. Well, what I meant to say is where I live, as far as seeing anybody's porch lights on, there's nobody that lives around me. I live on a high crested hill, and it's kind of like a horseshoe shape. I have a very long driveway, which you have to come up way up off the main road, and I could literally see 360 degrees all the way around, and I am covered by thick, very, very high trees.
It will go through. It will go through the.
Oh, yeah, I know. I understand that. I'm just saying. The whole looking at my neighbor's porch lights. I don't have any neighbors where I live. But
even when you're coming to your place, what you'll notice is that the house that's involved is always got their light on all day long. That's the person who's on duty, who's paid to watch you.
Well,
so
sure they
are.
are.
Someone who's always got their garage or porch light on 24/7, then there's your perpetrator, and that probably might be where it's coming from. Now, I can tell you other things that we don't want to talk about targeting right now. We want to talk about, but I do believe that, some of the stuff that people are saying they're experiencing with their health, I've been hearing a lot of migraine. I do believe that, a lot of this is the radiation that's coming from our solar system, too.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I started looking into that after I read those emails because my skin was was very sensitive to the touch, where to the point where it was hard for me to wear a thin T-shirt. And I went to leave the house, and I just threw a baseball cap on. And when I put the baseball cap on, I noticed that the skin on my head, my skull,